before I pulled out of the parking lot, I called Joe. That's like Walsh, plays a guitar somewhere. But he's also WB6ACU, and he's the guy that turned me on to Leo. When we lived in California, he said, you got to listen to these guys. He's on KFI every weekend. And so that's where I got to Leo. But anyway, I called him. I was still in the parking lot. And I said, hey, I'm here with your buddy Leo. And he said he wants to do a program on ham radio. Well, let's do it. So if you missed the first program, it was pretty funny because nothing was right, cameras, lights, whatever, because I never thought it would go beyond that. I really didn't. But the second guy I called to give us some support, since Leo liked it and said go ahead, was Gordon West. And Gordo and I have been friends for a long time. And I thought this would be good, and that's how it happened. And then I started, if you saw some of the first, they were very crude, very difficult to try to make anything happen with a soldering iron. I tried to build a couple. You can't do it live. And so I wanted to do something about building. I wanted to bring all of you some of the things we do to put things together and all the technical things. And George came across to my mind because I saw some of his shows, and we got together, and it just keeps building. Somebody asked me, how did you find Valerie? Well, I know very little about the DX world. I'm not in that world. Don't get me wrong. We support that world. I know a lot of the players, but I didn't know the real players. And I saw the chat room, and this Val came up with all these, well, I know this XRQ-12, and they're going to Manzobeak and all of these. I'm going, wait a minute. And she knew all the things. And so I wrote her a letter, and so, come here. It was Valerie.
It's Valerie. Hey! Let's give Valerie a big hand for a tall girl.
Yay.
John Amadeo with us.
Yeah. Oh. So we were very fortunate that she took this on. She was scared to death because she talked in a microphone, but usually it was on a headset. So, hey.
Hi.
How you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Well,
thank you for letting me join Ham Nation. It really has changed my life.
Well, it changed all of our lives, too, because we probably wouldn't be there. We have to have all these people. It just can't be Gordo and I sitting there being boring all the time. So yeah, you just bring such great interviews and interesting things, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, I remember that chat room because at that time I was the pilot station for Amsterdam Island, FT5ZM, and I was getting ready to head off to contest from PJ6, which is Saba Island. So you probably saw my little contesting and DXing stuff going on in the chat room. So
we're going to back up a little bit. See, that's how stupid some me are. Oh, pilot. What, were you piloting in a boat? Let's talk about that.
Well,
pilot.
I did take some flying lessons, but no, that has nothing to do with it. No, I was the communication hub between the de-expeditioners when they go on these remote islands. I would filter all the emails I would get from the hams around the world and send them information on different things they could do. Maybe they're missing openings to Sweden on 10 meters or things like that. I would send them weather reports, solar weather reports, things like that. So I would send them information. They would send me information if, maybe their Battle Creek special went down, so no 160 or things like that. So I would let that information go out to the rest of the world. So I was kind of the communication hub, I guess.
You were like a telephone operator for
there
them.
You go.
Yeah,
one
cool.
ringy dingy.
All right. Well,
yeah.
And you just continue on from there, and now you live on one of the biggest contest stations, and that was cool.
Yeah. Love was in the airwaves that day on CQ Worldwide Sideband. I stumbled onto my fiance's frequency, and we started flirting. And
yeah.
So,
is he here?
Jerry, are you here?
Hey, there he is. Yay! All right. We're just so.
You don't need Match.com when you have ham radio.
And I personally I'm just thrilled about this union because they're perfect for each other. I mean, absolutely perfect. And it just takes me back to my wife, Sarah, and I. And when the right thing comes along, bang, there it is. So ham radio in your life, isn't that great?
It's wonderful. It really is a life changer.
And we're so thrilled. Anybody have questions? That's what we're here for. We have no program today. We're just here with you. You have questions for her?
He asked who won the contest. We were in different categories. I was 10 meters only low power. He was 10 meters only high power. So we were each in our own category. But I believe, did you win your category? Yeah, I don't recall. So we were not apples to apples. I had a modest station, so I only had 400 watts. So I thought I'll just do low power, 100 watts, instead of compete with guys like that with 1,500 watts and a monster antenna farm. So. But I think I won the contest in finding Jerry, so I could say that's a good
all
way.
right. Cool.
Yes?
Is it just for Val or?
No?
For Valerie, yeah.
Oh,
No, I was going to ask you a question later.
all right.
There's got to be more questions for Valerie. Really. I know you're curious. There's one for you, kid.
No, no, we usually do multi-single contests, so we contest together now. So it's multiple operators, one radio. So I'm usually asleep on the couch next to him while he's operating, and then vice versa. We just take turns in the chair. So we have a ball contesting together. We're constantly laughing and having fun when we contest. So, and it'd be too hard because we do have two radios set up. It'd probably just be too hard to try and compete, and I know I'd lose.
Oh, wow.
Big time.
Wow.
Yes. Oh, it's so much fun to see all that come together.
Yeah.
You're going to do a little video, didn't you say, of what goes on behind the scenes during a contest? Didn't you tell me of the station? You got that in mind?
I'm going to show. Oh, hi. Hey, another question. I'm going to show how to get everything else, what we do in order to prepare.
Yeah.
Right before we do a contest. I'll probably show a little bit of contesting as well.
I mean, and that's more than just a 706 and a vertical hustler,
Exactly.
right?
There was a big learning curve when I went from my little 706 Mark IIG and a wire on the roof to Jerry's antenna farm. But and you'll get to see all that on the show. Darlene, you had a question? What was my first DX is a question. That was, I threw some speaker wire. I think, Dale, you were with me when we threw that up on the roof. And lo and behold, I was hearing signals outside of Milwaukee area. And my first DX was the Netherlands. I don't remember the call. I probably should. But that was my first DX.
Oh.
Yes. And she just got her ham license today, right? You're the one that just...
No, I've had mine.
Oh, okay.
No, I've gone to buttons.
Okay.
No, I got my general.
Okay.
No, a two-part question. How long have you been an amateur radio operator, and what got you involved in amateur radio?
She's asking how long have I been a ham and what got me involved. I worked for a video gaming company, and I'm an accountant by trade, and whenever things were slow, I would go down to technical support and help those guys out, putting in new EEPROM chips or swapping out power supplies or whatever I could do that was geeky. And none of them knew any hams. They all just thought it would be cool to go get their ham ticket. Well, I couldn't go that weekend, so I talked my 16-year-old daughter at the time into going with me to a ham class, and we both walked out of there with technician's license. And I was on 2 meters for a while. As a matter of fact, I was activities manager for 2 meters, and I was so proud the day I scored Gordo. I was your chauffeur to our ham meeting and to come talk to our group. Anyway, but I've been licensed. I'm coming up on my first renewal in November. I will have been licensed 10 years. So.
Wow, that's
Great. While we're at that, how many here got licensed this weekend? We have a couple.
One. All right.
I've had,
congratulations.
Yes, I've had several.
Wow,
Yeah, I had one come up
is
to me.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Bob, we've got Steve that's monitoring all the great work we're doing here. Since Steve's got his monitoring gear going, on the count of 3, we would like to hear your call sign. And if ever we're going to interrupt any other forums, let's make it loud and clear, okay? Your call signs, 1, 2, 3.
Just the Kilo Bravo.
Oh. Now that's called a tail ender. We are so delighted we have such great hams here, and all of you make ham radio happen. And Bob, we have a special guest that continues to make ham radio happen. How many have seen the great show Last Man Standing? That's on for yet another year. John Amadeo. John, come right on up. I'm going to disappear, but I'll catch up with the rest of you down the hall.
I have a question while he's coming up here. There's some that don't watch it. Why not? It's got a ham radio in the background, and every once in a while it's part of the storyline. If you're not watching it, I'm going to scold you. Watch it because it's really funny. And John,
and it's also thanks
guys. For being here.
It's so much fun to be here. I can't believe it. The Ham Nation Forum at Dayton, right? Yeah. Right. So, well, yeah, I'm John Amadeo, N6JA, and I'm the producer of Last Man Standing. Now, that's an ABC television comedy. It's on Friday nights at 8 o'clock and 7 Central, and it does star Tim Allen. And interestingly, when I met Tim Allen the very first time, and we started to talk about his character, Mike Baxter, he was going to be the marketing manager of a outdoor man store, kind of like a Cabela's. And he said, well, I would have expertise in camping and hunting and fishing and hiking, and also all the technologies that went along with that. And I'm also going to be a bit of a survivalist. So my family will have a bomb shelter with freeze-dried food and water backups and solar power and radio equipment. And I went, oh, what's that mean? He said, ham radio. I said, oh, I know ham radio. So because I'm not just a TV producer, but I'm also been a ham since 1973, wow. I thought, I know, I don't look that old, right? So, but anyway, rather than put a cardboard box with blinking lights labeled ham radio in the background, I got on the phone and started calling the manufacturers. And luckily for me, Ray Novak came to our rescue, and about 5 years ago, maybe almost 6, he started to loan us ICOM equipment. And we put ICOM equipment in various sets to make what looked like on television very real ham radio equipment. And then I said, well then, if that's the case, why not make them real? Why not make them functional? So we actually put antennas on the roof of our stage, which is in Studio City, California, about 70 or 80 feet in the air, and ran nice LMR 400 down to those radios and made them functional amateur radio stations. Now last year, because we wanted to get some use out of those stations, we decided, why not let our licensed crew members, we have 35 licensed crew members, by the way, out of a crew of 150. So that's a pretty good ratio. Thank you. Thank you. Now, I will say that we incentivized their licensing, which is to say we gave them the materials, predominantly Gordon's materials, to study from. And they had certainly plenty of time on their hands. So rather than Facebook out there in the common space, we said, you could be reading the question pool and learning something about electronics and radio wave propagation. And they took up the challenge. And everyone that did get a license got a free radio. That was part of the deal. And so cut to, we have everything from technicians all the way up to extras. My sound mixer, who mixes the entire show, is Laura K6MIX. So we decided, let's use this gear. And last year we instituted the policy where at dinner time, so on Tuesday nights while we're shooting, we go live on the air from the set of Last Man Standing. We get on the Mike Baxter's radio, which at the moment is a ICOM IC7851, not a bad radio. And I hear a lot of your 10 over, 20 over, 40 overs. And we go on for about an hour to an hour and a half. And while we're doing that, the audience is loading in, 200 real people, not a fake laugh track. They load in, sit down, and our DJ starts lightly to play music in the background, and I just watch the clock as the audience loads in. And we make as many contacts as we can, usually 100 or 200. We get big pileups every week. And at a certain point, as the actors are gathering ready to be introduced, we got to pull the plug. And we pull the plug, bring the actors in, and do a show. So maybe next season, we start shooting again in August and airing in September. If you look at the KA0XTT Facebook page, that's our ham radio specific Last Man Standing radio page, Facebook page, you will see notices of when we're going to be on the air. When we work 20 meters and 40 meters, and maybe occasionally we'll work D-Star. Give us a call. We are KA6LMS for Last Man Standing. So, and we hope to hear from you guys, right? It's really a lot of fun. And we have a special KA6LMS QSL card that we give out to those people that contact us. That's my spiel, Bob.
Do you have any questions?
Yes, sir.
Is it true that Tim
Yes, Tim Allen is a licensed ham. He took a technician class. What we did to facilitate our crew to get their licenses was, in addition to using Gordon's material to train them, we brought VEs to the studio. Most of my crew are young, and the last thing they're going to do is get up at 7 o'clock in the morning and go to a VE session, because they're all hungover. Right? So we then would bring in some local VEs and set up in one of our multi-purpose rooms on the studio. And we actually did one test right on the stage. We did a test right in what we call the bullpen area, which is near Mike Baxter's office, if you know the show at all. We've done 4 rounds of VE testing. And in the last one, which was actually more than a year ago, Tim Allen took his test. So he's no longer just a fictitious ham, KA0XTT. He's now a real ham, KK6OTD. So if you hear that on the air, you should probably work him, because he's a rare commodity. Oh, yes, sir.
Kyle get away talking to Baxter's daughter without an FCC?
Well, actually both Mandy and Kyle are licensed. But I will tell, because I'll make it quick, but to digest quickly, there's one episode 217, the fight, where Mandy, the middle daughter, has all of her technology taken away. So she can't text or cell phone, and she becomes very, it's like a heroin addict without heroin, you want to text somebody. She goes into the basement, and she hears voices coming from a radio, and she hears her boyfriend's voice, Kyle, and she runs over to it and starts to talk to Kyle on the radio. Now, there were a number of hams that complained about that because they thought, well, she's a pirate, because she didn't identify at the beginning of her transmission. And however, if you read the rule carefully, you'll notice that one does not ID at the beginning of a QSO, and the scene did not go 10 minutes long, and we did not see them on the air sign off. So, no rules were broken, either fictitious or otherwise. But then the next week, I decided to call Mandy KF0XIE. She's now Foxy, and we have QSL cards for her. And if you write to us, we'll give you those cards.
That's great.
That's the story of that.
That's great. Anyway. Well, they'd always have to bring up some negative thing. And besides all of that, they were in dummy load, so go home.
They were in dummy load. No one transmitted anything for real.
Yeah. Well, John, we Amateur Radio appreciate so much what you have done to bring amateur radio to the forefront.
Well, thanks, Bob.
That's what we've needed. We need to let people know that we're not just a bunch of gals sitting in a basement. We do things and have fun, and it's meaningful to so many people. So
thank you,
so
Bob.
much.
Well, your show is my favorite show to watch.
Well,
So.
Thank you. Well, we appreciate you being here today and letting us know a little bit of that background. We're going to look up and see what we got. We'll come out and see you on some of the filming. That'd
Come
be
out
great.
and get and work my station.
Thanks for coming.
I'll give you a pilot.
Thanks for coming. And of course, one of the most popular parts of Ham Nation happens to have with a soldering iron. And where are you at? George is here somewhere. Let's bring George up here. Yay.
Hi, Bob. I don't have a soldering iron with me today, but I have a microphone.
It counts, we're
you,
trying. Yeah,
you may have soldered this one.
I didn't bring my soldering iron, and I actually needed to solder something when we got here Tuesday, so I had to borrow Julius's, but I did solder.
Oh, okay.
And somebody, one of you guys, took a picture of me, and I hear it's up on somewhere. It's like, see, so you never want to do any of that kind of stuff because you don't know where it's going to show up.
Well, and you want to make sure that you're holding the soldering iron by the right end.
Yeah, and you
especially
don't,
if it's going to be posted online.
Exactly, and you don't have acid core solder.
Right. You won't know it then, but years later when you come back and you need to make a repair there's nothing left to repair.
George, we really appreciate all you do, and I know you have a tough job now because you're fixing 50,000-watt transmitters. That's probably a little more intricate than soldering a little code oscillator. You got to watch where you put your finger.
It is, yeah. You got to watch where you put everything when you're working with big broadcast transmitters. But yeah, I had done that earlier in my career. I was a broadcast engineer for some television stations and radio stations. Then I got out of that for over a decade and just did computers for radio stations. Well, now I'm back engineering again, and you know, I'm kind of enjoying it after being out for so many years to get back now. And, you know, this stuff's not very forgiving. It's when you've got a 100,000 watt FM or a 50,000 watt AM, when you hit that push to talk button, you better be sure that everything's ready to go.
Gets lots of pops and crackles.
Yep.
Well, we really appreciate all you bring to the show, and I know that it's tough because in the beginning you had a little more time to build some of these things, but you're getting back to doing a few of those things.
I am.
That's good.
I've got a backlog of things I want to build and some different techniques. You know, that's as much fun as building something, just showing how do you do this, because somebody showed me. Or either I spent a lot of time figuring it out.
Exactly.
You know how.
And we can't forget to mention Randy, because Randy helps you a lot with bringing some different segments to the show. And now we got old John, 6 NBC, and he does some things. And we've got other people that will be joining in the smoke and solder portion.
Yeah, I'm kind of, since I can't produce one every week like I had done for so long, because it was taking at least 8 hours, you know, for the little 10-minute segment. I still plan to do some, but Randy, K7AG, has been a big help. Of course, he's building a house now, and has been clearing off a forest in Oregon. So,
well, that's great. Well, it's so good to have you with us, and I appreciate all you do for the show, and we're going to continue doing a lot of things that you ask about. I get a lot of emails, as you do, and we try to answer those. We really do. Any questions for George?
Apparently everybody knows to use lead solder.
I guess. I guess they do. Huh? Yeah, I guess they do. My goodness. There's somebody.
George, how many stations are you acting as engineer?
The chain I work for has 6 stations. We've got 3 full power FMs and then 3 AMs, and one of the AM is a 50 kilowatt, and I've never worked with a 50 kilowatt AM before. I'm used to stuff around the facility there making noise and singing with the modulation, but at 50 kW it's a whole another thing. It makes a lot of racket.
Another thing, yeah, that's right, exactly right. And we want to acknowledge Tommy. Tommy's behind the camera. Tommy is a part of your Amateur Logic group, but he does so much for Ham Nation and doing the filming. So stand up there and let's say hi to Tommy.
Yeah, Tommy and I go way back. We've been good friends for a long time. We got licensed about the same time. It's kind of like if one of us does something, it's almost a dare for the other one to have to do it too.
You have stories about Tommy, right?
Oh, I've got plenty of stories. Okay.
Yeah, I figure that.
Yeah, he has a few too.
He's got a few too. Okay. Yeah. Well, it's always fun to be with you two because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and you know we've got a couple of other friends too. Of course, Jim has not been on a long time, but we've seen Jim on Smoke and Solder before with his torch.
Yeah, with the torch, yeah. And anybody see that with Jim with his torch?
We still see Jim occasionally. He's into other things. He's not currently on the ham radio portion of his.
Explain to them what we're talking about, the torch. What happened there?
Yeah, Jim wanted to do some parts recovery. You know, he kind of runs in cycles, and he was getting to where he wanted to build some stuff. And he had all these old printed circuit boards he had taken out of printers or one thing or another, and had all these parts on it. Well, I can save a lot of money by recycling those parts. So he took the board, held it with a pair of pliers, and took a butane torch, heated it up real good, and then banged it on a box to knock off parts into the box and sling solder everywhere. Now, he made sure that he was not going to damage his clothing, so he had on shorts, you know. And he observed safety, too. You know, he had a good shaky table there that he had his torch on, and when he was slinging the board down, hitting it on the box, he only knocked over the torch once.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So But then we've got our other friend too, Peter.
Peter.
A VK3 PB from down in Melbourne, Australia. We just met him sort of through an email on the internet. We asked one time if somebody, got a video they'd like to send and share with people because, we've been doing that. We're on our 10th year now, so there wasn't anybody doing this when we started.
Wow.
But Peter's been a great asset, and I wish he could have come here to Hamvention.
Yeah.
We did meet him in Huntsville this year.
Yeah, right.
He came to the U.S. and we got to meet in person. Never seen him before, and
That's really good.
he's
That's
he's
good.
a real nice guy, and just a little different flavor of the hobby.
Well, that's true. Every country has a little different. Well, we, all of us collectively really love what you guys do and bring to us, and we will do lots more as time progresses. And I personally want to tell you I appreciate you taking things over when I'm not there, and because of a lot of my rock and roll friends, I'm not there a lot lately, but that's the way it goes. I try to get there as much as I can, and a lot of times I'm in the back of a tour bus or on a rehearsal hall or in the back of a concert hall, so it gets a little tough once in a while. And I appreciate you filling out all the schedule. And although we don't stick to the schedule usually.
No, but we put something out there so we know we can break it.
That's right. Exactly.
And we've got Don too. Don's a
Don.
big help.
I wish
in all
Don
of
could
this.
be here, but he's working this weekend. If you don't know about Don, he's a professional voiceover and does a lot of stuff back in the New Orleans market. So he's very valuable to that market. So he had to do some things this weekend, but he's a great guy, funny guy. But
And we've got Dale too.
And then
Dale couldn't be
Dale.
here this year.
Dale was going to be here, and the day before he was coming, he found out he's got pneumonia. He's been sick for a couple of months. He hasn't been right. And then he comes up and said, he's got pneumonia. So we really have to pray and hope that he gets better, because there's some underlying things with Dale. But he does a lot of work. It takes so much time. If any of you do any video work, you know what we're talking about. It takes hours and hours and hours to get 2 minutes, and he does all those videos. So send your station pictures to him and let us see what you're doing. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy. And we'll put them up, because Dale loves to do all that stuff. And then little Amanda. Well, Amanda's not very little. I got to tell you a story about Amanda.
Yeah.
I met her in Albuquerque last year, and her and Jeff, we were at a table eating. And so I sat down, and that's the first time we had met together personally. And we finished eating, and we go to get up, and she just kept getting up. And I couldn't believe it, because I thought she was, like 4'10". No, not at all. I missed it by probably a foot. But she is the most darling person, and we're so thrilled to have her on the show. And I can tell you a little of that story, and she might not want me to tell it, but I'm going to tell it, because I want everybody to realize what goes on once in a while. I read an EHAM thing one time from her to EHAM about she had gotten on the air and was on the air, and some guy broke in and told her she didn't have a right to get in this net because she was a woman. Oh. Really? I mean, she should give up her license. It was awful. And I couldn't believe what I was reading. And she said, I'm going to get, I then looked up her call, and thanks to Google, I could get her phone number. And I called, and she was almost crying when she told me this story. And we said, oh, wait a minute, you got to get on the show. And I wasn't quite sure where it was going. I just wanted to, she was going to go away. And there's no way do I want to see any ham that's licensed and enjoying this hobby go away. And I thought, well, we'll get her on the show. And then once we got her on the show, I'm going, aha, because we were needing to do a chat room person, and she has been great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and now her and Jeff just moved, and they got to have a tower and a nice antenna, and she's really enjoying amateur radio.
And I can't imagine, what was on that guy's mind. I mean, most guys on the air, if they hear a lady, that's bonus points.
Well, yeah, I hear you. The thing of that is I hear it every once in a while. and just tuning around, and it's just ridiculous. And so we're just so thrilled that Amanda's with us. And one of these days, her and Jeff will be at one of the big Daytons or Huntsvilles or Orlandos or whatever. So we're excited to put all these people together, and we keep getting them. K6 UDA is going to be doing some stuff. Anybody know about K6 UDA? This guy does videos, and he does a lot of review videos. And he does a lot of fun things. His things are funny because he's a funny guy to start with. And he's going to come on and do a few of those for us again. It's really kind of tough because we have all these segments and we only have an hour and a half. But what's so fun about that is Leo has taken the show and put it last on the schedule that day. We used to have one behind us or after us, and it was really tough. But now we're the last show, and not to say we're going to be 2 hours long, but we'll run over a few minutes. And
well, we will, and you know he lets us do that, and lets us do the show period because of a couple of really good sponsors that we've got.
Absolutely, we can't go without saying so much good about ICOM. And Casper Mattress and Harry's and Audible. And pay attention to this. These are non-related ham radio companies, but they know that all of us buy those products. They're watching. They just don't throw that out there. So we're very blessed to have that sponsorship. And I get that once in a while, too. You don't need any sponsors at ham radio. Well, I'll tell you what. You go pay the light bill. You go pay 5 people that it takes back in Petaluma to put this together and edit it. Pay all those people. And we have to pay all the salaries of George and Val.
I haven't got my check yet. You know?
I'm still waiting also. What can I tell you? But no, we have to have sponsors. That show, the last I heard is running about, if you want to know this one, about 60, 70,000 views. This is not some little thing in the basement, and and it's like your show. You get that many views, you have to have some support, and we're very fortunate that ICOM stepped up. So
well, them and DX Engineering too has come along and been a big help.
Without Tim, that would be a big hole, and we appreciate all of his help. It's been great. So those are things that keep the show running, and we hope it runs for a long, long time. But we're always bringing things in, and no telling what John's going to do. If you want to see what John does, he just put it up yesterday. He did a shootout of our Pro 7 and a competitive thing, radio sport. He calls in, here's the way he does things. He calls in 5 people at different times in his house. They never saw each other. He had a spec sheet for each of them, comfort, sound, all this kind of stuff. And they all filled it out, and they did the same test. And this is all live on his video. And of course, 4-1, the Pro Set blew it away. And they tell you why. And so we're very fortunate. We're very proud of that, because that work took me about 3-4 years to build that product. Had a little bump in the road in the beginning, as we always do with a new product, but it has taken over, and we're very, very happy about that. But check out that website. All you got to do is put Heil Pro 7 Shootout, and you'll see what John does. He did it like a boxing ring. He had a gal, nice-looking lady from California, hold up the sign just like a boxing. It was really cute. But he's a fun guy, so we'll have him on doing some things. I never know where he's going with it.
He has the weirdest antennas too, doesn't he?
Yes. Yeah. So we don't know where it's going. But anyway, you want to check that out. But we're happy to have all that happen and keep the show running. That's the whole piece. We also have one other little thing about that show that they are never seen. They're never on the show, but they're a huge part of the show, and one of them is right there. Stand up. Case W7 UDI. He runs. Yay. Steve runs a 20-meter net, if 20 meters is running, sometimes 40, yep. And of course, I don't know where Garlic Mike is today, but he was to be here. He's in, oh, well, fine. Come up here. He's in Hawaii. Well, let's trade Dayton for Hawaii. What would you do? I'd take Dayton, really. I'm telling you, I would.
Can I get an early check-in, Steve?
Yeah.
Sure, George, you're in the log.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike was in Hawaii for the last 17 days. He just came back Wednesday. So, and then Mike has been off during the winter time. And so during the winter time when 20 meters just doesn't work, I go down and help out the 20 meter, the 40 meter net. So there I am doing the 40 meter net. A couple times I said, calling for check-ins on the 20 meter net here on 40 meters. Like, uh-oh.
Well, we really appreciate what all you guys do, because
thank you.
You're on the air longer than we are usually.
There's nights I'll be on the air for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And I just go until 20 meters dies. And then this last week we had 49 check-ins just on 20. And if you've ever checked into the 20 meter net, you know I like to talk.
Well, that's what amateur radio is all about. And the net control things just really continues to bring new viewers to us, because they've never heard of the program and they hear the guys talk after the net. That's really super.
Yeah. And now I don't want to leave out we have other nets. So we have the 40, we always talk about the 20 and the 40 meter net, but we have the D-Star net. So if you have, for you technicians, if you got a D-Star radio, boom, there you go, 14 Charlie, the D-Star net right after the show. And then if you don't have the D-Star radio, there is Echolink and the Dewdrop In. So there's a couple of places, we try to get everybody involved. And then this past winter, we picked up 2 more net controls for 40 meters on the East Coast, which we really needed it. We got Eric, N2KOJ out of New Jersey, and then we got Kevin, KC7 FPF out of Florida. So we're expanding our net controls.
Right.
So.
One of the things that we want to look at is some special events. How many people worked the 100th special event?
Or the 200th.
Was that fun? Yeah. That was fun. And we're gonna work on something. Have you got any ideas you want to share with us about that?
I think we should have it every week.
Valerie
Every week.
thinks we should have every
Special
week.
event.
Hey, Jerry, I got an SOS for you. You're going to be coming home to a hot transmitter and a cold stove. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. Domino's, bring me 4 more pizzas. You know what? It's okay. It's okay. But yeah, we want to try to do that this year and make more fun of it. Special events are really fun anyway. My big deal in special event outside of Ham Nation is the Route 66. Anybody here work the Route 66? Well, yeah, my wonderful sweet wife was born in Springfield. And so she has family there, and that's how I fell in love with that town. Since I met up with her in '96, we started going down there, and then she found this great property, and what a sweetheart. She's not an amateur, but she owns our company. She really does own Heil Sound. I just invent stuff and talk to people on all this stuff and talk about the products. But she got this great property she found somewhere, and she said to me one day, "Come in, look at this. This would be great for your ham radio." Boy, was it. It's 5.5 acres, and now I got 3.5 of it filled up with antennas. That's a pretty good mix. It's not like Jerry, but it's better than a backyard lot that I had. But anyway, I go to Springfield, and I love that town, and they're doing this Route 66. I've always enjoyed that special event, being a car nut and all that. But Springfield, which is the home, that's where Route 66 was born back in the 30s. That's where they put it all together and figured out what route it was going to go. And it wasn't on the route. And I was still living in California. We had a second home out there. I started beating up on those guys. I said, "How come Springfield's not in this thing?" "Well, no, we just didn't do it." Well, when I became a citizen of Springfield, I really started beating up on them, and we finally got it. So the last 2 years, W6R is Springfield. And now we got a whole bunches of guys. They have a lot of fun doing it. So we'll be on the air again this year in September. But we want to get something going, and we will let you know. So just keep watching the show, and we'll let you know what goes on. But Valerie's probably got something up her sleeve for what she wants to do In her head, yeah, okay. And so it'll be fun. That's the main thing. We want to have fun. And we'll keep you posted. If you have any ideas, all you have to do is send us an email. That's the important part. How many here, this is an interesting question because I've heard the answer to this several times this weekend. I hear it a lot. How many used to be licensed some years ago, found Leo Laporte because they got into computers, and then discovered he had this ham radio show called Ham Nation? They started watching the show and came back into the hobby. Anybody here that did that? Look at that. Well, congratulations to you.
Excellent.
Yes, and I hear it a lot. I get tons of emails. I usually go through about 200 emails a day, and both the business side and everything else I do. But I'm very, very proud when I hear that, because that's my pay right there. That's my pay.
We hear it a lot on the after show nets. Guys that discovered the Twit Network, or been watching Twit Network, and then found Ham Nation, and then came back into the hobby.
Right.
It's been great.
And a lot of people that found the show and just got interested again and new hams. We've made a lot of new hams.
That's
New
right.
hams.
Well, we're so happy that all of you came. Any last minute questions anybody want to go through? Yes.
Did you solicit sponsors or did they approach you?
No, they come to us. We don't. Well, of course, we know Tim Duffy, and he was always wanting to do things and said, "Wait, we want to get on the show." So we send him out to the advertising people in Petaluma, because we have nothing to do with that part. But no, they come to us. Yes.
This is for George. George, what does Vegemite taste like?
What does Vegemite taste like? You know, if you took the nastiest tasting vitamins that you could find, ground them all up, mixed it with axle grease, I think you'll get a good idea.
Okay. Anything else we got? Yes.
How about the HC4 mic for the Pro 7 headset? Thought it was going to be debuted here.
It is. We're demoing it, and we'll be shipping in about 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yep, same thing with the PR70. I'm going to do a little audio thing in just a little, so I'm going to explain some of this stuff too, because our thing here was, once we had the room, not all of you want to maybe stay around, but I want to spend 15 or 20 minutes. I don't have a lot of big stuff to do, but there's some things that I want to play with here, since we're live, that we can do, so yeah, I can hang on to that. Valerie, you want to come up here at the end? And we just want to thank all of you for what you do to keep the audience out there and bringing more of your friends into it. And any last questions for any of us, we're here to try to answer them. Yes.
Yeah.
I can never know that because, sorry. It's hard to know that because I don't dictate to the writers. We can just suggest things. So oftentimes they'll pick up a thread like they have in the past and run with it, but there's no way to predict it. But I want to say I love your shirt.
Yeah.
That's a Last Man Standing Amateur Radio Club
How about that?
T-shirt.
Yeah.
They're very hard to come by.
Yeah. John, that's got to be a real fan.
He actually is. Pete helped us research all of the call signs we use on the show so that they were cleared from the FCC's perspective. Yes. So he kept us out of federal prison.
Does everybody here know who that is? Do you know what he does? I'll tell you what he does. When I got my license, 1956, I got it because of one of my high school chums. We were going to high school together. There's more to the story, but anyway, I got a license. Okay. Over the years, we drifted apart, and he went to college. Then he became a colonel in the Air Force, and that was it. I haven't seen him since about 1963 or 4. Okay. And we're all busy. Well, about 10 years ago, I start wanting to find George Crowder, K9DTQ. He's not in the call books anymore. I don't know what happened to him. He got his call changed. He moved. I knew that. Pete found him. Not only found him, got his phone number and talked to his wife. And in about 3 weeks, I'm going to Olathe, Kansas, and going to have a reunion with my buddy that brought me into this hobby. I'm thrilled to death. So if you ever want to find anybody, it's Pete the Greek. He will absolutely help you because you can do that. And he's got all the call books, I guess. But I'm so thrilled. And I say it a lot, and I can't say it strong enough. Ham radio has been my college education, and it's been the guiding light for 2 or 3 of my careers. If I didn't have that, I wouldn't be doing what I was doing. And I have people all the time. And I love it when I get to be, we're out on somewhere with all of our nonsense, big sound systems and all this stuff, and we're hooking up all this truckloads of stuff. Carrie Underwood's got 16 semis, 9 buses. It's far beyond a Volkswagen van that we had with the Grateful Dead. And the deal is, they'll get these guys in that are the sound engineers for the arena, and they'll, well, what kind of degree do you have? And I said, amateur radio. No. What kind of degree? Where'd you learn all this? Amateur radio. No, you don't understand. I said, no, you don't understand. Ham radio. And to close all of this for you, about 7-8 years ago, our company was inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. On the 3rd floor is a whole room. It's about this big of some of our early stuff we did for The Who and the Dead, and the first talk box we built for Rocky Mountain Way, all this kind of stuff. It was significant. To me, it was just another thing. To them, they said, no, this is a historic piece of rock and roll. And they dedicated a room. And I said, well, let me tell you one thing. I have one request. And they said, what is that? And I said, when you write all of the words up here or what's here, you have to say that I learned all of this from my background of ham radio. So ham radio is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Yeah. I never forget it because it's all of you that I learn all this stuff from, and I pick it up every day. And it's the same thing with you, right? You don't have 14 college degrees, do you?
No, I don't. I just, picked up a microphone and soldering iron and started.
You barely got out of high school like me probably, right?
I was still in high school, yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah. Well, we're so blessed that all of you make this show what it is. And I can't thank you enough, Valerie.
Thank you, Bob.
And we'll see you somewhere on the air or behind the screen next Wednesday. And any of you want to stick around, I'm going to do 10 or 15 minutes of some audio stuff that people have asked me about and some equalization stuff. I'll let you hear a few things. But other than that, you're free to take out. Because I know you want to go buy a new 7300, right?
Yeah, everybody wants to buy a new 7300.
Yeah, okay.
I've only heard good things about it. Well, Bob, I'm going to have Gordo over in the Icon booth at 2 o'clock this afternoon.
2 o'clock.
We're going to be shooting some video over there. We'll have Gordo. We'll have John Amadeo back. And
great.
A few other special guests. We had you and Val there yesterday.
We had fun yesterday.
Good.
Okay.
All right, thanks for coming, guys.
Okay. Thanks so much.